All right, let's get unhinged.
Hello, I'm Izzy.
And I'm Jessica.
And welcome back to our special episode of The Greatest Genre.
SJM Interview Edition.
Oh my God. I am so excited to get into this with you today, Jess.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I feel like unhinged is the correct word, both for how this conversation is going to go and also how our reaction was during the
our
interview
general
itself.
experience watching the interview. Just for context for everyone, we were unable to watch the interview together as we had originally planned because I ended up traveling. And so we were texting each other. At one point, we tried to be on the phone with each other while the interview was happening, and that immediately had to stop because, of course, we needed to listen to Sarah's words.
I have 4 pages of the most chaotic notes I've ever written in my entire life.
It was just it was a very unhinged experience between the typing, the trying to videotape parts of the interview, the texting.
No, it was just all too much.
There was a lot going on.
But we have since consolidated said notes, and we are looking forward to talking about it here with you. So just a couple of reminders before we dive in. We are on Instagram at _greatest genre, on Twitter at greatest genre, on the TikTok at the greatest genre.
Le TikTok.
What else do we have? Oh, you can email us at thegreatestgenre@gmail.com. And a couple of you have. So thank you very much for that. And you can additionally leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, should you so choose. We have a couple new ones, Jessica, since last week. Yes, they're both 5 stars. I mean, obviously.
Oh my goodness. Thanks, guys.
So we appreciate you. Thank you so much. We are thrilled that you're still here with us listening along.
Yes.
This is going to be a fun one.
It is going to be a fun one. And I really think it's sort of the beginning of the next phase of this podcast. The content is going to sort of remain pretty unhinged as we proceed forward with our CC deep dive.
And then essentially phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but more exciting.
I was thinking today about how close we are to the House of Flame and Shadows release.
My body chemistry changes whenever Flame and Shadows is uttered.
I was just telling you, I started rereading House of Earth and Blood. I picked it up for the first time since reading it for the first time. The tension is building. I can feel my blood pressure rising as I'm just going back through and remembering like how much is truly at stake here. And that was definitely part of the mix of emotion that I felt while watching this interview.
So should we get into it?
I think we definitely should. And I feel like we need to just take a moment off the bat to just appreciate how fucking good Sarah looks.
Straight 10 out of 10.
Straight 10.
My jaw literally dropped when she logged on and she did the thing.
I went, truly. That is not an exaggeration.
It is difficult to pull off that much eyeliner. And she does it well.
And she's still using, it looks like she's still using a flat iron. I haven't picked up one of those in a long time. And she made me be like, I should straighten my hair.
It was hysterical the way that she said, I had to go to the internet to figure out what people are doing with their makeup these days. I was like, well, you knocked it out of the park.
She's killing it.
I discovered how to do my eyeliner today. So, I mean, Sarah J. Maas, you're doing,
nice.
Oh, thank you. Hooded eye gang. I found out today that I have hooded eyes. But yes, she looks incredible. It was such a treat to see her finally on the screen again.
And she seemed really happy
to be
there. She just seemed
Mm-hmm.
really excited to be talking about these books. And one of the things that she mentioned in the interview is that this maybe hasn't been the easiest last year or so for her. She kind of hinted that she's been having some
struggles,
things going on. I guess we can get into our theories about what that
I think
might
it's now as good a time as ever as what kind of just things that we learned about Sarah herself during the interview. She did say that she was going through a lot this year, and that was maybe what caused her to toss the first draft.
She did toss the first draft, and it was 200,000 words.
I mean, do you know how much we had to struggle for 10,000 words for an essay in college? Remember? Can you imagine tossing that all out after battling through that for how many hours you did? So it leads us to believe that maybe the Hulu show.
Well, and there's been
on the rocks.
There's been a lot of speculation amongst the fandom for a while that things were maybe not going well. And I think it's always difficult for writers of fantasy series to hand over the worlds and the characters that they've created to people who just really don't understand. And I think this is a failing of, frankly, Hollywood in general, and anyone who was a fan of Game of Thrones can attest to the fact that when you let Hollywood run with rights to things, it doesn't usually go very well.
So I do want to say I did love the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Because they were following the content of the books.
And then the last 2, it kind of...
But once you sign away your rights, you sign away your rights. And they can do whatever they want with it. Yeah. And I think that she, at the end of the day...
didn't want to do that.
It seems like she was unwilling to really relinquish that control and artistic direction. And I support her in that.
Me too, because there is nothing more devastating than when you are so in love with these stories and these characters and these worlds that you've created. And I mean, even herself, she said she still gets emotional every single time she reads these because
and
she's
so do we.
And so do we. And so can you imagine something being brought to life that is just so far from what you envisioned it being? And it would be a disservice for, I think, her and also for the fandom. She wants to see it done right.
I think she cares a lot about her fandom. I think she has a very deep love for all of us who read and love her books because, once again, as we have said many times on this show, she was first a lover of this genre before she was an author of the genre. I think she has that loyalty and that connection to the fan base, and I think it was just really, really important to her,
not unlike what Taylor Swift has with her fans, and we realize
I'm so glad we're making this segue right now because honestly, one of the most important things to me that I learned during this interview was that she is a huge Swiftie, her and her son.
I mean, the tangent
adorable.
Was at least 10 minutes long,
She talked about it for long enough that I was like, no, you're a full Swiftie.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And it solidified an idea that I've had in my head for a long time, which is to make ACOTAR Taylor's version playlists. Because I think you could make A Court of Thorns and Roses, Mist and Fury. I think you could go through most of the books and make
important clarification. I think that you could do that.
But you're on your way.
So I am a new, up-and-coming, a blooming Swiftie, if you will.
Sure.
I've really been quite taken by this Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift situation.
Because you know what? Travis Kelce kind of seems like an SJM man.
Literally, he's Cassian to me. And I've discussed this with Emily Galt. If you're listening, we took it offline because we weren't sure that you were supportive in the beginning. But now you are, and that's all that matters. But
okay, yeah. I'm going to need you to walk me through this comparison because that is wild. But I do just, just in the sense that, he really seems to be, a man who is coming in and treating her right and taking charge.
Really can't talk about it.
Okay. All right.
But you made a great point when you said that you wished that Sarah J. Maas maybe paid a little more attention to the fan theories the way that the Swifties pay attention to the clues that Taylor drops in her social media.
Well, I think there's a lot. I think there is a very similar level of dedication. I think Sarah J. Maas's fandom
nuts
has the same passion. It's like National Treasure. Passionate. I think they are equally as passionate about Sarah's works as the Swifties are about Taylor's music.
Right.
Which is an amazing thing. So I don't know that it's something that's a disappointment to me, but I think there's definitely an opportunity. It's overwhelming for sure.
I have to tell you, I was devastated when she was like, I haven't paid attention to any of the fan, because I mean, if you're listening to this, chances are that you've read some fan theories out there and you have maybe gotten sucked into the Reddit holes. Exactly.
You've gone down the Reddit threads.
I don't know if
you've been texting
also
your
have 10
other girlies.
separate group chats.
If you have no one else to DM or talk, just send it to us.
Do it.
Nothing brings us more joy than going on a journey with someone else about these books.
But she was like, I've never really, I don't really know what any of the theories are. And I was like, oh,
Now, in her defense, like she said, she's had a lot going on.
Right.
And we did desperately need more stories from her. So it's like, which one do we want more? Do we want her to be online?
No, you make a great point. She said she's working on ACOTAR 6, and I'm although apparently some people are calling it ACOTAR 5 because they don't count the novella as.
I've heard this too.
I call it 6.
I'm calling it ACOTAR 6.
Me too. Okay, great.
It's the next ACOTAR novel. It's the next full novel. So it was twofold, that update that we got from Sarah. Onefold. Is that she is working on the next thing she is working on is for the ACOTAR series.
Huge.
And the second fold is that it is a full novel. Now, she did not confirm
whose point of view it is or isn't,
but I think we
all
have a pretty good idea of at least 2 characters.
It's going to be Shadow Daddy Azriel and who do you think the second one's going to be?
I've already done my mic bump.
Do you think it's going to be
I don't know.
Elaine?
I don't know.
Or do you think it's going to be Gwen?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe it'll be 3. Maybe we'll just get thrown for a loop and it'll be Lucian too.
If it's Azriel and Elaine, I'm going to be really worried.
I know.
She could throw in a third POV. It could be Azriel, Elaine, and Gwen. And then the last one is just Elaine and Lucian.
I don't know. It's
very
stressful.
I'm getting nervous.
Okay, bring it back to the interview.
Roller coaster. I'm so scared.
Other important little notes that I took that aren't necessarily the most important things that happened in the interview, but they made me very, very happy. The fact that a Bible exists with every single description of every single character.
I need it. I need it. When she's done writing novels, I need her to publish her active encyclopedia of the SJM universe. I want it bound and illustrated and just I need it to be like huge and enormous and dramatic.
It looked like one of the books in like Harry Potter in the library.
And I want it to sit above
perhaps in
my fireplace as like a main focus of the decor in my future home.
Wow, you really thought that through.
It actually just came to me just now.
That was impressive.
Thank you.
Another note, she no longer stands by the statement that you do not have to read ACOTAR to read Crescent City. So originally when she came out with Crescent City, she said that you don't have to. Yeah, she was like, it was, I guess in previous interviews that we have not seen, she said that you didn't have to, because one of the questions was, they asked, do you still stand by that? And she said, no.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I don't think you have to read. I think it's more fun.
No. She said that now she said.
Wait, did we do a spoiler alert?
We'll put it in the title. Like this is about Flame and Shadow.
Before I say what I'm about to say, big spoiler coming your way for ACOTAR and Crescent City. I think if you don't read ACOTAR first, the reveal at the end of House of Sky and Breath, when she goes into Prythian, and you're picking up on the fact that the scarred hands are Azriel's, and then there's this tiny female who's Amren, and then
maybe
there's
not for the first book you have to read it, but I think at least for the one upcoming, it's not going to make a lot of sense, some of these characters.
I just think it's a much richer, because if you read it in reverse, if you read Crescent City first, and you read both books, then at the end, then if you go to read ACOTAR, you meet Rhysand, and I think you would just be confused.
Yeah, no.
You would be like, is this?
Yeah, so she says that you need to read ACOTAR
Rhysand
now before you read Crescent City.
I think
that makes sense.
Now, on a slightly separate note, but something I think that is worth reading or noting. I swear this is my first class. I have actually been asked by several people. I have. Friends, though, not like fans. I have been asked by several people what the best order is to read the books in.
I stand by our order.
But even like right now, right? So people were saying, okay, between now and leading up to Crescent City 3, should I read everything again? Or, like, should I just read Crescent City? Should I just read ACOTAR? Should I read, like, the first 4 books of ACOTAR and then read House of Earth and Blood and then read Silver Flames and then read
ACOTAR? It's impossible.
No, but they're, like, people are taking the whole
And they're doing it like
universe,
the line
and they're like doing
Yaz.
it linearly. And I don't know if that would be my recommendation. I feel like rereading Crescent City is imperative.
I also think that people who read this genre fall so in love with the characters in the world, it would be very difficult to pull yourself away from a series that is not finished if the next book was there for the taking.
True.
How would you just stop after Mist and Fury? Are you joking?
Well, they're saying to stop after the novella, and then read Earth and Blood, and then Silver Flames, and then House of Sky and Breath.
I couldn't do it.
It seems like it would be a disjointed user experience to me.
Yeah.
The bigger one I think that is in question is Throne of Glass. And because we don't know yet if
those
we're
characters
gonna
come into play.
I don't know what to tell people.
I'm trying to imagine you reading Aelin Galanthinius making her way into House of Flame and Shadow somehow, and I'm trying to imagine your reaction to it.
Also, this is the first Sarah J. Maas book that I'm going to be reading where it is actually impossible for me to spoil anything for myself.
Yeah.
Which is going to be tough because I kind of relied on some of those comforts
because
I'm a nervous reader.
Yeah. I don't spoil anything. I've been training for this.
I am so anxious. And this interview did not necessarily help.
No, so we can talk about some other
anxiety.
stuff that she said that gave us pause and that made us a little bit nervous.
Yes. I think that's probably...
Should we talk about Hunt and some of the things that she said about Hunt?
I think we should because it's the hardest part. It was the hardest part for me.
So this is a literal quote that she said from her interview. She was trying to figure out how to unlock new trauma levels for him in this next book.
Does she mean for him or for us?
I mean, perhaps both. You in particular.
Really kind of feels like it's directed at me.
She wanted to figure out the most horrible thing that she could do.
Before we talk about this any further, hold on.
You may as well give me a little more,
difficult. I'm scared.
I know. I'm excited, though, because we get to learn a lot more, she said, about Hunt and his origin and his backstory.
Yes, I am excited about that, and I think there's so many great theories out there about Hunt and his lightning powers and whether or not there's a connection to Thur. And then there's the bonus scene after Earth and Blood, I think?
Which bonus
scene
are
you talking
about? And it's
Jaceba.
Oh, yes, it's at the end of Earth and Blood.
It's Jaceba and Adis, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, I think so.
And he says to Jaceba, I think Athalar's father would be proud, but you knew the male better than I did.
No, we're going to find out some shit about Hunt in this next book.
I literally have
not
goosebumps. I'm so, there are so many I'm so excited to see what she does with it because of how she is able to weave in elements of real mythologies and cultures.
One of our favorite things about her.
Thur is, of course, I think, a pretty unmistakable nod to Thor. And Norse mythology, I started my reread last night.
Oh my gosh, it's
my
favorite type of mythology.
And I am reading everything through a lens of, could this have been sourced from or inspired by a real mythology? And it's really interesting because there's Luna,
right,
who has the horn, and it's very much giving Artemis. It's giving Diana from Roman mythology, and then there's Diana, Wonder Woman, and it's all just very you can really just get yourself in a heap of speculation. But I'm really excited to see what she has in store for us in unpacking Hunt's backstory and his origin.
But one very important thing we did find out about Hunt that gave me
the warm and fuzzies for sure,
was that he and Bryce are officially mates. And this debunks so many theories that were out there. And honestly, thank God I was just worried about you.
I was very upset by it. And it's not because people aren't, it's not that I am upset.
You love
him. Not that I'm upset by people.
He's your man.
Questioning whether or not he was her mate. It's just that I personally was so attached to him and to them as a couple. I really fell for them so much harder than I had fallen for any of the characters in ACOTAR. I don't really know why, except for the fact that he wears a backwards baseball cap.
That
which
is the problematic element of all of this.
That was so unfair of Sarah to do.
No, it was
She gave him wings and a backwards baseball hat.
It's rude.
Do you know?
And he wears a wife beater, which it's giving Ryan Atwood from the OC, which is like my original crush.
Or even like a t-shirt. And he like goes to the gym.
He goes to frat pot. You know what I loved about Crescent City, and she actually touched on this in her interview, is that it's literally like this is her fantasy version of growing up in New York City. That's what she said.
Do you know what? I actually think that would be the best thing that could happen to either of us is if we woke up one morning and the world was the way that it is in Crescent City, except for the fact that we would be at the literal bottom of the social totem pole as human beings.
Very tough. Hey, maybe we'd find a Randall, and he would.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm getting their bonus chapter on my
nice.
from Books A Million.
Okay, which makes me wonder. What
does
Ember know?
She knows things about the Autumn King, which we also have to talk about in this interview. Honestly, the most important part.
I knew this was going to be a struggle. It was going to be hard for us to stay on.
Have we finished Hunt or no?
Stick to the agenda. So I do want to talk about the fact that SJM said that there is a big journey ahead for Hunt. And yes, I think a lot of that is going to have to do with trauma and healing, because in the first two books, we definitely get the sense that he has dealt with a lot and he's been through a lot, but I don't think he's faced any of it.
No.
And I think that that's a really important difference between he and Bryce. Like, Bryce has been through a lot, but she has grieved, and she has had to fight through like really, really low.
No, it was a huge part of
her life.
The Earth and Blood story, and it was very, very powerful and moving.
He helps her heal. But I think it's really, and this is a very, very pivotal path.
Well, I'm excited for it, Jess, because you know what? We haven't actually had that from the male perspective yet in any of Sarah J. Maas's books. We've had it a little bit. We don't get other points of view from someone that is going through that journey.
We get it a little bit in Throne of Glass with Dorian and Kale.
A little bit. Kale, yes.
Kale going
in
through his
Tower of Dawn,
paralysis.
we do get that.
And Dorian has his demons that he battles. I don't think we ever really saw it all the way through to like full healing, but you do get the struggle, and you do get the facing of your demons, battling of your demons.
It's a great point. I forgot about them, but I guess I'm thinking more of like the tier 1 like main character. I don't know if I consider those two to be. They're very important characters, and we get that point of view, but we get a lot more points of view in Throne of Glass.
Yes, yes, I would agree with you there, but I think because that arc has been so pivotal for so many of the female characters that we love so much, I think it's noteworthy that it seems like she is going to be sending Hunt on a journey like that. It also makes me a little bit nervous because it makes me think of, when Katniss and Peeta got separated at the end of the second book of the Hunger Games.
Yep.
And he just goes through that horrible torture, and he has to relearn everything. And
it's like the third act breakup that we all hate. I know that it's coming, and I am not excited about it.
I feel like they are going to somehow use his past trauma and fry his brain, like Winter Soldier kind of situation. And I feel like Bryce is going to have to really use the power of their mating bond to like
pull him back.
And it's just, I think it's going to be really hard.
I mean, in the words of Sarah J. Maas, you should be worried.
I am, okay? Mission accomplished. I am worried. I am worried all the time. So I think that brings us to the conclusion of my feelings about what we have learned.
Now, I know you get a little more excited talking about the Autumn King, so do you want to do that?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay,
so I do want to talk
Sarah
about
J. Maas made a very important point.
And it was unexpected.
This is when things became really chaotic between me and Jess, because she...
Okay, because it also came... It was just a very serendipitous, like, clash of timelines.
Because we've been talking about the Autumn King specifically in the first season of our podcast, and
rereading book 1 of ACOTAR, okay, and getting our first introduction to Baron, Lady Autumn, and
Eris,
the bad
the
boy,
Vansara
Autumn
brothers.
boys.
Yep.
And just
the hot Weasleys.
The hot Weasleys, just really getting kind of reintroduced to them, knowing the influential role that they have, even if it seems like it's on the side. And so we had been very into the Autumn Court lore. And then hear Sarah,
out of nowhere, to hear her say that this is one of my favorite characters that I've ever written.
And he was one of the first ones that she always knew was going to be in the book. Like, Hunt came late. Mm-hmm. She had a different love interest in mind for Bryce. And then when she wrote Hunt into the interrogation room scene, she was like, oh shit.
This is it.
This is different, which I think is very cool because that's what happened with Nesta and Cassian for her as well.
I love that.
I do too.
She's such a genius.
I think she initially had Nesta and Lucian
together.
Right?
Yep.
God,
which, you know what? I feel like I would have been okay with that too. You know, I'm a total Cassian girly, but I rediscovered.
No, she was right.
She was 100% right. But if it had been Lucian, I could have reconciled.
I just need Lucian to have somebody.
No, you and I are on the same page.
And I need him to be happy.
So the Autumn King is one of Sarah J. Maas's favorite characters. And the thing that she said was that he is morally gray. He's capable of doing the right thing, but he doesn't.
She said he is so bad. He is so awful, I think was the word that she used. He's so awful, but he has the capacity to do the right thing, and he just doesn't. She also said, and this was one of the few clips that I was able to record on my phone chaotically, and she also said that pitting him against characters like Bryce and like Rune, at which point she went, oh, sweet baby Rune.
I mean,
which for some reason fills me with dread.
Sweet baby
Why
Rune.
does she pity him so much? I think it's because she knows what she's done in book 3 to him, and it makes me very
him
scared.
And Lydia. But anyway, continue your thoughts.
So she said that pitting characters like the Autumn King and, quote, sweet baby Rune, unquote, she said it just makes for really rich dynamics to have these characters that are so different but so inextricably tied to one another. And she also said that she always knew that Bryce's biological father was the Autumn King. Now, what is amazing and tantalizing is that we don't know why Bryce's lineage is so important. We know that she's the heir to the Starborn Fae.
It's giving the same history as Rhysand and Tamlin's families. It's very murky. We just don't have the information yet.
We don't have
And she's been very, very deliberate with that, because I even went to Rune's Wikipedia page, or Aka Wiki, whatever it's called, and it's like very little is known about his upbringing. Not just Bryce's, both of them. And
I was reading House of Earth and Blood last night, and there's what I read as just a throwaway, oh wow, Bryce's biological dad is an asshole. He offered her, the Autumn King offered her fat sum of money to never breathe a word of her lineage to anyone. And on first glance, I was like, oh, her dad's just an asshole and he's ashamed of her because she's half human. I think he was trying to protect her.
Who else do we know that is really, really intense about lineage in the other areas of the universe?
A certain other ruler of an autumn-related
location. What was really striking to me when kind of doing a little bit of research about this was how similar, from what we know, the Autumn King and his very gentle, very kind wife,
Rune's mother.
Yes, Rune's mother, to Baron and Lady Autumn, who we know has very, just Jessica's reaction says it all, who is just a gentle,
I also
kind
want her
woman.
to be happy.
She deserves happiness.
She does.
She deserves to be with Helion. Don't we all? But the dynamic sounds the same between the two paralleled couples in different worlds. And there is something massive that and there are so many theories about this, enter Reddit at your own risk, because you could get sucked in.
So much to digest there. But there are simply knowing that Sarah created the Autumn King and named him the Autumn King, and he exists because he needed to be the genetic source of Bryce for some reason, and Rune for that matter. And then knowing that she also always knew that Bryce was going to end up in Prithian, those just simply cannot be coincidences.
Because another thing that she said in the interview was that that scene where Bryce comes to Prithian and meets all the characters from the ACOTAR world that we know and love. That is what she was working up to the entire time she was writing Crescent City. Yes. She actually said that she burst into tears when she finally wrote it because it was like this massive weight had been released off of her shoulders. She had been writing it for so long.
How much she cries.
I know. That was actually one of my notes. Really, she cries a lot. LOL,
she cries a lot. She's one of us. We love her for that so much. Like she said when she was on the plane listening to music, this is one of my favorite parts of the interview. The first scene she imagined from Crescent City was Bryce making the drop and Danica being her anchor from the other side. So and she was just amazing. She said it was the friendship between Danica and Bryce, which was the first like real clear thing that materialized for her while she was on this plane, and she said that she just sobbed.
So she was listening to a piece of music. We've all been there.
If I listen to a certain piece of music and I think about Bryce and Danica when Bryce makes the drop, I also cry.
It's happened to the best of us. And it will happen again. And then she said that she listened to the same one over and over again, and she just started getting her thoughts out on the page, and she just kept crying. Can you imagine the person sitting next to her on the flight?
Oh my God, I wish it was me.
It's amazing.
If I ever got sat next to Sarah J. Maas on a flight, I would probably have to be like, flight attendant, you have to move me for this woman's sake because I'm going to ruin her entire day.
Oh my God. You know what upset me was the story that she told about the girl who had the tattoo of Ramiel and the 3 stars, and she went up to the girl in New York and she was like, that's me. I wrote that book. And she wasn't like made up apparently, like it would matter to a true fan. And the girl just didn't really believe her.
Sarah, if ever possibly you're listening to this, I'm going to be in New York the week of November 13th, and I would love to meet up with you. Just throwing it out there.
Maybe she's
you can send us an email, thegreatestgenre@gmail.com.
Or just DM us directly. Can you imagine, Jessica?
Oh my God, I have to pull it together. I feel like I need
a secret fan of the greatest
Professor
genre.
McGonagall, the Maggie Smith.
Amazing.
Pull yourself together. Were
Amazing
you really a cat?
Now just pull yourself together. Maggie Smith is an icon.
Legend. Can we find a place for her in the ACOTAR universe, please?
I wish they aged more.
That's so true.
I'm trying to think. Could she be like
Can we make Jasiba old?
Okay, hang on. Who's the healer in ACOTAR?
What?
The healer in the inner circle. Magda?
Oh, I don't remember her name.
That could be Maggie Smith.
The one who doesn't know how to perform a C-section?
We actually don't have time to get into that because it's a whole nother issue.
Got contraceptive teas down, though. C-sections, however, nope, out of luck.
Oh my God. Okay, I wanted to touch on some of the rapid fire questions that were given to Sarah.
Okay, fine, but afterwards I would like to talk about the selection of questions that they...
Oh, I think that works out nicely.
Preferred.
So,
okay.
There were only 5 of them, so I'm going to read out all of them.
Yep.
Is Danica really dead?
Yes.
Yes. And this is just a recap in case people didn't... Yeah.
Yep.
Is Connor really dead?
Yes.
Also yes. I mean, these are like fairly graphic deaths that happened with very clear evidence. Yes. Anyway, does Emile really have no powers? She did not answer this one.
I think
which leads me to believe that anything that is a do not answer is an answer in itself.
Well, right, but...
We don't know in what capacity.
I think he is unable to access his powers, and I think that was done by someone else to him for his protection.
Interesting. Okay. Does the mating bond in the Crescent City world mean the same thing in the ACOTAR world? And she did not answer this one either.
What does it mean?
I don't even have notes because I don't know where to go with that.
I don't even know. Okay, so what does the mating bond mean in the ACOTAR world? Like, what does that mean?
So in the ACOTAR world, and this is a whole separate discussion that we've touched on but haven't really had in full, is that it is this incredibly rare bond between
Rare.
bond between two
Unless
people,
you're a main character in an SJM novel, in which case you're probably going to get a mate.
Exactly.
Are we upset about it? Absolutely not. Please continue. Please continue that it is rare, but that all of our main characters get one. Okay, great.
And
thanks.
I think that it's more the hints that she makes the mating bond throughout the ACOTAR series. Things like you can't bear to see your mate in pain. Like you literally feel there's like a physical bond that happens between
and they
you.
can communicate through it, right?
Well,
so
at least I don't know if that's a Feyre and Rhys thing because of the Damati situation.
I reread some Kingdom of Ash today. Because my friend Remy is reading it for the first time, and she got to the point where they were rescuing Aelin from the camp.
Right.
And the iron coffin. It was all very intense, and I just really felt I wanted to reread it with her in solidarity.
Oh, that was so nice of you. To be clear, I would not do that if that was someone else doing it. It was too traumatic.
But the rescuing her part was worth reading again. Okay. Of course, I had big, fat, pathetic tears rolling down my face by the end because it's like so emotional. And she saves Fenris, and he's like
on the verge of death.
But I read it, and Rowan receives a message from her while she is still in the box.
Oh my God.
And then he sends her one as well.
And doesn't she feel his grief or something?
That he's
while
coming.
She's in there as well?
Yes. He's like, keeps sending to her, like, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
Oh my God. I'm going to start crying right now.
So I'm wondering if maybe it's slightly like,
again, different worlds.
Right,
Same
it's
universe,
a different world.
Worlds.
And we haven't necessarily, right, like in ACOTAR, Nesta, like, she visually sees, doesn't she? Or like in her mind,
she sees the golden thread between them,
so
yes.
It could just be that there are like slight nuances.
Also, just throwing it out that this nonsense theory that Nesta and Cassian are not mates, get out of here.
We're putting that to bed. It's not a thing.
Continue.
So it could be a difference there, but we know from ACOTAR that mates can occur interspecies. Oh, God. Between species that are different. So does the mating bond mean the same thing? So a mate in the ACOTAR world is described as you have met your equal. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not necessarily that Bryce and Hunt are equals, but maybe it does mean that maybe it's closer to like a soulmates kind of thing. Maybe it's that they need each other. You know, maybe it's just that they are each other's true loves. Like being mates in ACOTAR doesn't mean that you are in love with each other.
Exactly. That is such an important point to make.
It could just be that maybe in this world, a mate is really more like a soulmate. Maybe it is more romantic. It's that intense, passionate, all-consuming love that you could never, ever find with another being.
I just thought of something right now, which is, in this genre, SJM gets flack for all of her main characters get mates, right?
I don't think anyone should give her flack for that. I think it's fun to be like, oh, it's so rare.
In this genre as a whole, it is always something that is incredibly rare, and yet our main characters always experience. So she is not the only one who...
Because true love in real life is incredibly rare. So when we read fantasy...
It's nice to see.
And SJM has also said one of the things she loves about this genre is the comfort of being able to believe that true love and these characters who are in love with each other are going to defy the odds
and end up
together.
I loved when honestly, it was like, thank God.
That gives me more hope than anything else, and I need every tiny kernel I can cling to right now because I am scared.
Skirt?
Yes.
So that's the end of the the last rapid fire question was, is Hunt really Bryce's mate? And the answer is yes.
Which she had already said. Like, okay, I have some notes
about the questions that were asked.
Questions that were
also about certain things that you choose to bring up to Sarah J. Maas. At least give her a good theory to either debunk or not choose to not answer, which is as good as an answer.
Yeah.
Don't bring her the Rune Dannon vibrator headcanon theory.
Literally
that
never
is so
even
stupid.
heard of that.
Neither have I.
Like, we don't need her commentary on that.
No, there are more important questions that she could have answered.
Not a single question was asked about Lydia.
Which is a travesty.
Which makes me wonder if there was potentially like a list sent from Sarah's team that was like off the table.
Didn't seem particularly structured or formal though.
It
the
also,
interview itself,
frankly, didn't seem to me like these two women had actually read all of Sarah's books. There were a couple of things that they asked, and I wish I had written them down, but there were a couple of things that they asked that I was like, have you read?
I remember us texting at one point. It was near the beginning, and we were saying, excuse me, have you read any of her books? I'm sure I could pull up my very chaotic notes over there and find it.
My context clues were telling me that they too are authors. Like, they're all three
authors.
authors.
And actually, I wrote this down just kind of offhandedly and chaotically. She was a fan of they co-author books together, and she was a fan of Des before they discovered her books. Cheers again. And that is why they were selected to do this interview, I think. Whereas,
is there an application portal for that job?
I don't know, because in actuality, I don't know about me, but I know that you would have done a really good job.
I think you would have done a really good job.
Well, we work best in tandem, so.
If you could ask her one question.
I haven't thought about it. Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna ask her one question.
Let's do a couple, right? Let's do rapid fire, like between me and you. Let's do like 2 each.
I want to know who her three top. You know how we have the game.
Oh, the top three.
We have the game, like who your top 3 men in the entire universe. Oh, males.
She's a Reese girly.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
She said that the hottest secret she's ever kept in her entire life was that the secret that Reese and Feyre were mates.
I don't know why it kind of bums me out that she's a Reese girly, but it does. And I think it's just because it's been so long since I read
Mist and Fury. I think
that couple.
I'm still a Reese girly. He's not my top 3, but I'm still a Reese girly.
He's like not even in my top 5, which
he's not in my top 5 either.
So
okay, this
taboo.
Is fun. We haven't actually. I don't know if we've actually ever done our top 5 live. Yours changes sometimes depending on your mood.
I'm in flux right now anyway. I think we should save this for the fan cast episode.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so you want to know who her top 3 men are. That would be really fun. I think she would enjoy that question a lot.
I mean, if I could ask her one thing, it's who is Amryn? That's what I really want to know. What is Amryn? Who is Amryn? Where did she come from? I need her backstory.
All I'm going to say is in the first couple of chapters, there is a poster of the Asteri, and it has the empty chair, and it says, and Bryce says, blah, 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 the Asteri keeping the open chair to remember their fallen sister.
I just got chills all over my body.
What? Sister. Is it Amryn? Is it Maeve?
I don't know.
Because Maeve, fell.
Yes. God, I can't wait to. There's not enough hours in the day for all the rereading that we have to do.
I think my question for me would be why do you pronounce it Rigulus?
I have that note. Important note. Rigulus is the correct
I said Rigulus.
Yes.
Why is it Rigulus?
Can we tell Sarah J. Maas that she's wrong?
And also, can you please cast Timothée Chalamet as Rigulus? God, I can't. It's so hard. This is going to be really tough. I also, basically all of my questions right now revolve around Lydia and the alpha female wolf in the tank.
That's a big one. The wolf in the tank, I gotta know who she is. But I also want to know about...
The dragon seems to be a loose cannon as well.
I want to know about... What's her name again?
Ariadne.
Ariadne, which is so funny. I have a book on my shelf right now.
From Greek mythology.
It's the next one on my TBR after Crescent City.
And the Viper Queen has so many secrets.
The Viper Queen has so many secrets. She knows things.
Oh, by the way, the knock... The creature in the tank, the nasty one that almost that Micah throws Syrinx into.
Rude.
That was actually the scariest moment in all of Crescent City for me.
I think
When I thought Sirius was going to die, I was about to quit.
What do you think the most... I think that that last 100 pages of Crescent City might be the most chaotic...
Earth and Blood?
Of Earth and Blood. Might be the most chaotic out of any last 100 pages in an SJM book.
It's the most incredible action sequence I've ever read.
It's
perfect.
What? No notes.
It's,
as you would say,
perfect.
I have notes.
No notes. I was on the edge of my seat, holding my breath. You think you're going through it when she's like assembling the rifle.
Nope.
And vacuuming his shit up. And then you're like, oh my God, it hasn't even started.
It was
stressy. Like Avengers
you was stressy Jessie.
I was stressy Jessie. It was Avengers Endgame like
level
magnitude
of drama.
It
was Jessie was stressy, Izzy was in a tizzy. It was just so tough on all fronts.
Oh no. Oh my God. But yeah, like the ending, and it just, I'm so excited for the third one.
I know,
I'm
me too.
Excited and scared.
Have we put in our PTO requests?
So I've been meaning to talk to you about this.
Oh God.
I think we need to take time off to read it, and I think we need to just take like a week off. Because I think our reactions to this need to be like
documented,
like
raw,
unhinged. I think our episodes on CC3 need to be like, we need to have like the original unhinged reactions to CC3, and then maybe like 6 months later or like after.
Should we do?
I'm sorry.
Should we do what Caven does and film ourselves reading it?
I don't feel secure enough to do that. I need privacy.
To be in like the reading nook where you have the scented candles going, you have the blankets,
my fortunes,
you have the enchanted forest on the YouTube TV.
Yeah.
You have like a cup of tea with maybe a little bit of whiskey, and they'll make it a hot toddy for this read because we're gonna need it.
I think I'm gonna do a Trader Joe's run and just get like a lot of wine and cheese.
And we invite you all to do this with
because
us.
It's gonna be a doozy.
So, Jessica.
Isabel.
That is the meat of my notes that we've already discussed. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the class before we start closing it out?
I don't think so. I feel like we got so much and we still have so many questions that aren't going to be answered, unfortunately, until January 30th.
Maybe you guys can send us the questions that you would ask Sarah J. Maas if you had the chance to meet with her, because who knows, maybe she's listening.
And if we ever get the chance to ask her questions, we promise we will do our best to get as much intel as we can. I mean, I think just between now and the release of Crescent City 3, we are going to be doing our diligence.
Damnedest.
We are going to be rereading House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath.
Yeah, and keep an eye on our Instagram as to how we're going to structure those episodes, because obviously there are about 3 full months between the release of Flame and Shadow and now.
Yeah. Yes.
But
we have holidays in there. We're both gonna be traveling to see family.
Exactly.
And
but
so
we all really
we lose about a collective month,
I would say. But
there.
we've done a good job thus far of the 2-week cadence, and we're gonna do some brainstorming, try and figure it out, and stay as true to that as we can.
If you have ideas, or if you feel strongly about things that you really would like to hear from us during this reread, I think right now we're leaning more towards focusing this particular reread on combing through for clues and theorizing about what might come next.
Yeah,
for
and this
other
is not
characters.
going to be, unfortunately, episodes that you can listen to unless you have read these books thus far. But as always, you should use that time to read and to catch up, because, I mean, honestly, I'm jealous that you haven't read it yet.
And there are going to be fewer episodes, we think. So if you want to go ahead and read House of Earth and Blood on your own over the next couple of weeks, you should absolutely be able... We can do our best to eliminate spoilers from, like, Throne of Glass.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's fair.
Right?
100%. Mm-hmm.
So we might keep a tiny little spoiler section at the end if it's necessary for across all series. But yes, please send us any ideas or thoughts that you have.
Or stuff that you want us to cover.
Yes, that would be helpful as we put together our plan
Game
of action
plan.
for season 2.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
And season 2 is it's gonna be all of Crescent City. It's gonna be both books.
Yes, exactly.
So we are gonna
And
be
maybe way down the line we'll comb through it a little more carefully. But right now we're going through it as we feel.
we're trying to be women of the people.
Yes, exactly.
And right now we know that as readers, the thing that is at the front of our mind is Crescent City 3 and rereading the series to make sure that we are as prepared as possible.
But I do want to just, don't worry. We will be going back to, I've loved doing the chapter dissections of the ACROSS series because that is the series that...
Oh, of course.
That is the one that made me re-fall in love with this genre. I had been in a reading slump, and I've now convinced a number of people who have never even read this genre to start reading it.
It's one of my proudest accomplishments how many people you and I have shared this series with.
Amanda Woodworth at you. She was like, I will just never read the fantasy genre. It's not my thing. She has read all of ACOTAR. She's on, I believe, Kingdom of Ash right now.
You're kidding.
She has gone so fast.
Wow.
With audiobooks.
The girlies that I have, for the most part, that have started listening to it have started doing it on audiobook.
All right, on that note, thank you everyone who's tuning in for this bonus episode. I am very giggly. I'm so happy that we did it. You just keep an eye on our Instagram. We'll be keeping you updated with what we have in the works and our plan of attack
for season 2.
Season 2 of The Greatest Genre. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places. You know the drill by now.
Yep.
Jessica, it's been a pleasure.
Always. Time to work.